Here I am, guys. Cord Rodnowski, publisher of Yankee T News, on this Monday, November 24th, the year of our Lord 2025, coming to you from the still world-famous Parkway Diner in Stamford, Connecticut. So, dude, I'm kind of going to be riffing and ranting tonight. Oh, my goodness. So I'll tell you, because Eric and I have been back and forth on this. The place that I'm going to start is the so-called peace plan with Ukraine. Now, it was going to be a little concerning, but was my desire to bring in a copy of that plan and just burn it. Take out a match and burn it right in front of you. So we have gone through a series of disclosures, if you will, over the last few days. The first part of the disclosure, and the most disturbing, was when you had Trump fully supporting this plan and then basically threatening Zelensky in Ukraine that America would withdraw its support if they did not go along with this plan. Well, since then, I think President Trump has had to walk a few things back. But ladies and gentlemen, this particular event, okay, is highly instructive of many things, but I'm going to get to the main point right here, right now. If you put together all the little events surrounding the journey that this peace plan has taken, from when it was concocted, it was really plagiarized, but concocted by Witkoff, Kushner, and whoever that Russian guy was, to where we are now, there was it reveals something that I would have suspected, but now we know is true. President Trump, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, is overwhelmed. He is so overwhelmed that he has to trust people at times when, quite frankly, he shouldn't be trusting them. And I am pointing particularly at Mr. Witkoff, okay? Because the way you've handled this, you've embarrassed your boss, you've embarrassed other people, and I hope you get the dressing down that you deserve for how you handled this. So you had President Trump rushed. The information was presented to him as the story goes. He looked at it, and they whispered in his ear, and he said, "I approve it," and this is where he then leaned on Zelensky. Thank God for Marco Rubio, who stepped in and had to start doing damage control on this whole embarrassing episode. Okay? Because once again, ladies and gentlemen, you got to explain it to me. How is it that America and the Trump administration is playing favorites in a so-called peace proposal that is helping out the instigator, the guy who pulled the trigger, the one who did the invasion? Okay? Why are you playing to them rather than the people who have been the victim? I don't get it, okay? And it's just not making any sense to me. But in the process, I need to bring up somebody else. All right, mind you, by the way, after all this, I'm still a supporter of President Trump, and I have a lot more coming because I did this piece, you may or may not have seen it yet, called "Is President Trump Losing His Way?" And just to go through it, it's about how he's handling Ukraine, handling the H-1B visas, handling the stuff with the AI rules, handling the communist students coming to America. What am I leaving out here? Those are the big ones, but there would be others. And the affordability crisis. I mean, President Trump is not paying lip service to the affordability crisis, but I don't get the feeling that he's got the grip that he needs to have on this. And as I'm going to explain, I think there's some good reasons for that, but I find myself right now needing to come back to Ukraine. I need to come back to Steve Bannon. Steve, I'm very disappointed in you. You have no idea. Wow, am I disappointed in you. What do you mean Russia has won? It's like, Steve, stop gaslighting us. Stop gaslighting us. To win something means somebody else loses, somebody else surrenders, somebody else gives up. Has Ukraine done that? No, they have not. No, they have not. They're still fighting. And oh, by the way, while we're on all this, there is this element of hypocrisy I'd like to address as well. President Trump has threatened to withdraw support, okay? What's he doing right now? He's still providing support to Ukraine. And I think for very good reasons. Okay, if I'll just cut to the chase on that one. If he felt that Ukraine could continue in some fashion without American support, he'd take it away. The answer is they cannot. And if they cannot, let me ask you a rhetorical question. Where will Russia stop? Well, will Russia stop? Kiev? Border with Poland? Austria? Where would they stop? Okay? And the answer is they would not, and President Trump knows that. Okay? So that, for me, is the hot deal if you're going to talk about a peace plan. I cannot get more sarcastic. So, Steve, stop. Stop with the gaslighting. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling anybody else who's following this whole sad, sordid affair. Okay, where do I want to go next? The H-1B visa program. Yes, I would say President Trump has lost his way on the H-1B visa program. And in the op-ed, I referenced this woman named Jessica Vaughn. She was on with Steve Bannon today. She is the Director of Policy Studies at the Center for Immigration Studies, CIS. And she has, I put up the link there, takes you to the page where she has done what is an in-depth analysis of what is going on with the H-1B visa program. Now, let me just point out something, and this is partially a confession on my part, all right? When you do research, you've got two types of research. You've got primary sources. So if I wanted Eric to tell me what's going on, I'd give him a call and he'd tell me. He's the primary source. If I was going to read about it, that's a secondary source. Now, when you take something as big and as complicated, the H-1B visa program and all the sorted programs for bringing in tech workers, there's a lot of stuff, and it's hard, okay? You really want to talk to the people who are involved in all phases of the H-1B visa program, from the origination of an application to the money that's paid, to how the application is processed, to the approval process, to whoever they end up working with in America as an H-1B visa hire. You want to talk to those people. Don't read crap about them, talk to them. Well, it's not that easy to do, okay? Jessica Vaughn of the Center for Immigration Studies has talked to these people. She has pulled the primary sources on the H-1B visa program. If anybody was listening to what she had to say, oh my God, we would be done with this. It would have been done yesterday, okay? The fraud, there's more fraud in this H-1B visa program than you could shake a stick at, okay? Fake degrees. People applying for programming positions who can't program worth a damn, all right? So they're just being shuttled through the system for one reason and one reason only, because they're cheap, all right? So my message to corporate America, to all you Silicon Valley tech bros, is you're screwing the pooch, and you're screwing yourself, okay? You have people in this country who work so hard, and you won't give them a break. You won't give them a break. Oh, I'm ready for that. Here's the sweet irony. Okay, if we ever get this straightened out with the H-1B visa program, oh, it's going to be very difficult, because who are the people doing the hiring currently? That's right, people from India. Now they get the memo. It says, nope, no more people from India you're going to hire. All you Indian managers now, you've got to hire those awful, terrible white people. Oh, there's a thought to chew on. Okay. Jessica Vaughn, the link is up. Listen to her. Listen to what she has to say. I can assure you'll be at least as horrified and disgusted as I am. The people who run these corporations, they're out of their minds. Out of their minds. It's just the greed blinds you. There are so many things that are so wrong with the way you're doing things, okay? You don't care about the future. You just care about, how you can make a quick buck. Yeah, anyway. I need to make a point about Russia. I told you a couple weeks ago, if anybody remember, that Russia, you know, the people who are kind of for Ukraine keep pushing the fact that Russia has all these financial issues, okay? And we've been trying to enforce these sanctions, and they've had some effect, okay. But there is more depth, more resilience to the Russian financial system than meets the eye, all right? One could say it's a bad sign, but it shows that they have something they can go to, all right? And as the story goes, or they said gold bars, so the Russians are using gold bars to finance some of the things they're doing. That's what they can do, okay? They have plenty of gold. They're one of the top gold producers in the world. That's what they can do, okay? And the notion that we're somehow going to break them financially, you're going to have to try a lot harder than that. That's all I can say about that. Okay, there was, and also President Trump's treatment of Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm sorry, is absolutely despicable. Absolutely despicable. Here's a woman who's gone to the mat for you more times than we can count, and now you're treating her like this. And I think, wasn't it over the H-1B visa program was one of the things Marjorie Taylor Greene was fighting about? Remember, Eric? Yep. Yeah, okay. So here you have one of the loudest proponents of getting rid of the H-1B visa program, and he's all over her, which just shows how out of touch he is, or how captured he is by the tech bros. Yeah, okay. So President Trump, I respect you very much. You need to treat her nicer. Yes, there's been some rapprochement, and she said she's going to resign. I just, you know, with what's coming in the midterm elections, this relationship needs to be repaired, and it needs to be repaired big time. Now, I want to move on to another issue. Wait, let me think now. H-1B, the affordability issue, okay? As I said in the op-ed, there are two components if you're going to talk about the affordability issue. You have got the macroeconomic forces, interest rates, Fed policy, okay? But then the second thing is you've got, quote, the market, okay? It's one thing to set interest rates. It's another thing for how the market responds, and then the changes in the interest rates for 30-year and 15-year mortgages. The 10-year Treasury note is the benchmark, right? And so it's been going gradually down, and we have seen mortgage rates getting closer and closer to being less than 6%. A lot of people are thinking that's going to be the big moment. That said, you still have a very large number of people who still have mortgages under, hold on to your hat, under 3%. I think it's about a third of all the mortgages out there are still under 30%. So that's going to have, that's a weight on the market, whether you like it or not. Okay, so I've made my point about that part of affordability. The other part is that we have these two, what do I want to say, very sick behemoths, Freddie Mac and Ginnie Mac and Freddie Mae. Oh, Ginnie Mac, did I say that right? Ginnie Mac and Freddie Mae. Then there's Ginnie Mae's. There's Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. That's who we're talking about. Okay, if you add up the market value of these two companies, they are the largest entity by far on the stock market. I forget, was it $6, $7, $8 trillion in market value? And everybody's excited these other companies are going over $1 trillion in market value. It's just that it's too bad those two have to be in conservatorship. Right, so these are the backstop for a lot of mortgages, and those companies are in bad shape, okay? And there's this guy, this is Pulte, P-U-L-T-E, he runs a home building company. And so he's gotten himself in the middle of this by pushing the idea of a 50-year mortgage. They do it already in Europe, but it's not been well received here, okay? Will a 50-year mortgage make houses more affordable? I don't know. But I'm going to go back to my other new favorite person, and that would be Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports. He's the one also who's triggered a lot of this about what I'm talking about. He was on Steve Bannon, he was on with Alex Jones, and he was just laying it out based upon the polling that he's done. If President Trump does not get his act together on the H-1B visa, the Chinese students, the affordability program, okay, and I'm sure I'm leaving some other things out. The Republicans will be blown out next November, blown out, all right? He made it very clear that the vast majority of the people that he's polled are not what you would call ideological. They're not what you would call conservative, and they're not liberal either. They just want their lives. They want a job, a home, be able to raise a family, do the things that they feel like they should do in life, okay? So if you stop using phony programmers from India and let Americans have these jobs, life will be better, okay? And the Republicans will have a chance of winning. So that is something for you guys to think about. You're gonna have to tell those tech bros to go home. Go home and stay there. Okay, what else do I want to attack here? Oh, there's plenty. How about this one? Kill Jews for cash. That's right, that link is up there. I'm not sure which organization it is, but they have put bounties on Jewish academics. Have you heard about this, Eric? Yeah, okay. So let's just go through this. All right, America has a bounty on Maduro, $50 million, I believe. In the meantime, you had the drug cartels from Venezuela putting a bounty on the ICE officials primarily in Chicago, but I guess other places too. Meantime, you have this group, I need to go back and get their name, who are offering $50,000 and change or so for a list of Jewish academics that they wish to have assassinated. So, boy, these people just can't help themselves. But let me offer up a thought for you, ladies and gentlemen, with a possible exception involving Maduro. When you have groups like these putting out bounties on people, okay, you are basically saying you have failed, all right? You are basically saying that you don't understand how to deal with the problem, so now you're going to hire somebody to kill him because you're so incompetent that you can't figure out how to handle the situation in which you're dealing. And you're believing, by the way, that, gee, if we get rid of those people, the problem will go away. Maybe it won't. Something to think about. So I mentioned Maduro, Venezuela. Okay. You flexing your muscles? Oh, okay, keep going. He has some very novel directorial signing for me. Okay, anyway, Venezuela. Everything I said is still true. If it's about a Monroe Doctrine 2.0, if it's about strategic hemispheric dominance, okay, if it's about getting rid of the hub of communism, communistic influence in the South American region, it's all about Venezuela. But I have to tell you, there's another theory. Now, I find this a little odd, but it's worth taking note of, and it's going to be my reason to start talking about Tina Peters next. Don't you love it? From Venezuela to Tina Peters. There really is a segue. Where do I want to start with this? Okay, first of all, in the news, and just a correction, it's the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, not the Harry Truman aircraft carrier, which is stationed in the Caribbean at the moment. The hot issue here is, will there be a real military invasion, or will something else happen? Okay, supposedly Maduro has said already, I give up, I'll go, what do you want me to do? But nothing's happened. So I don't understand what's going on there. Nonetheless, so we have special forces on the ground, we've got the CIA working the ground, okay? Meantime, we've got our friends out in the water there in the Caribbean, military. And nothing that has been put in the news has happened yet. Maybe some more things are happening that we're just not going to know about for a while. Just a thought. Okay, so for all of this said, here's the theory. Yes, all right, there are some people who will question it. Some people will say, oh, it's been debunked. Well, it hasn't been debunked. And that is that Smartmatic or Dominion Systems has worked with the Venezuelan government to use their voting machines in order to run fraudulent elections. And we know if anybody won a fraudulent election, that would have been Maduro. So the back thought is that, the real motivation for President Trump may be to take out this person who is illegitimate and has done so by using the same machines in Venezuela that have been used in America to run fraudulent elections. Okay, so if this brings us around to one of my hot issues, election integrity, I'm all for it, but I don't know if that's true. But since I brought up election integrity, I am going to bring up Tina Peters. So once again, to the forces that are out there, Pam Bondi and others, you got to do something, okay? So let me just put it to you this way, if you haven't already figured out, well, I think you have. Tina Peters is a witness, okay? That's the first principle. The second principle is that Tina Peters is a witness to fraud committed against the federal government in the federal election in 2020 by Colorado state officials. Okay? So it is on that happy note that you should have no problem, Pam, or who's responsible, to assign her federal whistleblower status in an investigation into election integrity and to yank her out of that crappy prison that she's in Colorado. So today we're told she was taken out of solitary confinement. Good, but that's not enough, okay? She needs to be taken out of there, all right? Me, I might have a more direct approach, but I'm hoping that you will move faster. Please move faster on her behalf, okay? She's an older woman. They're making her life miserable. This is not good for her. Get her out of there and let's get justice done on election integrity. This is a big election issue, and it's one of these things that not enough people talk about, but you know damn well that people like me who follow this care about this very much, and we expect justice to be done on it, because otherwise, guess what? Like it's been said before, we don't have a country. So fix this and get her out of there. All right, and speaking of get her out of there, the other victim, Mr. Bolsonaro down in Brazil. Earlier, President Trump had made some noise, some rumblings about how they were treating Mr. Bolsonaro. I think the level of pressure that has to be brought on Lula must be far more, keyword, profound. Far more profound than has been done. So that's my note on that. Meantime, I need to remind you, we talked about it a little bit last week. I didn't bring my sheet to put it up, but it's there on the website if you go check our news links. Here, the big call to action, ladies and gentlemen, is this, all right? We have this little problem. It's called a bill called 8002. It's a phony bill about affordable housing, okay? It's really about taking away local control for planning and zoning. It's about ruining the character and lifestyle for people in all the small towns and bigger towns in Connecticut, all right? They don't want to say it that way, but that's clearly what it is. So there is a note, and I'm going to throw it in there, okay? Ned, we got a note for Ned. Veto 8002. You vetoed it before, you know you can do it again. So here's the thought that I want to plant with you if you haven't already figured it out. I don't know what kind of calculus you're engaging in here, but yes, I want to throw in a hint. The hint is measles map. Remember measles map? Right? You remember the measles map, Eric? No, kind of, sort of. Okay, well then I'd be more than happy to remind you. When we had little dust up over putting tolls on the state roads in Connecticut, there was a proposal for something on the order of 86, if I remember correctly, 86 individual tolling locations, 86 sets of cameras to toll people around the state. 86. There's no other state in the nation anything remotely like that. Not Massachusetts, not anybody. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind, okay? But that is what you're entertaining, okay? So when the truth be told, and we were putting up those maps with all the little red dots showing all the proposed locations, and we called them a measles map, we remember how good old Ned didn't like it very much. Didn't like it very much. Well, guess what, Ned? There's going to be another measles map of all the places that are most negatively impacted by 8002, okay? With all the crap that's built into this. Yeah, people are going to fight this. I'm going to fight this, all right? I'm going to work with the people who want to fight this. I'm going to help them out as much as I can, all right? And guess what? There are other people who will be fighting against this. So whatever ground we might have lost in the municipal elections this year, I don't know. I don't know. 2026 might turn out to be a little bit different if you sign that bill. Something you might want to think about, because we're not going to put up with it. Yep. More busy work for lawyers. More busy work for lawyers. All right, so I've talked about H-1B. I really want to emphasize the idiocy here. I'm sorry, President Trump, this is another issue where we are just not in agreement, not even close. It's 180 out, okay? You're trying to double down on bringing Chinese communist students into the colleges and universities in this country, as far as I'm concerned, is a non-starter. And you should not do it. You should discourage bringing in communist Chinese students. Remember, they have their handlers. Remember that the communist Chinese government is going to be monitoring them very closely and make sure that how they monitor 600,000. Oh, they do it though, they do it. Yes, they do, all right? So I don't think it makes sense, frankly, to be bringing people in whose job it is to spy on us, to take anything of any commercial value and just, quote, steal it, is such a smart idea. They don't mix with American students. They don't make any friends. They come and they leave. They lie, right? They cheat, they steal, and they leave, all right? What a great contribution to the American culture, now isn't it? Yeah? Oh, what a hell of a cultural exchange that is. Cheat, steal, and leave. No, how about if they never get here in the first place? All right, so I got through that. H-1B, or I want to talk about folic acid for a minute, and that's it for now. Okay, folic acid is interesting. It is a B vitamin. It's called vitamin B9 by some. Our diets have a substantial amount of folic acid or folate in it to begin with. And it's, the secret about vitamins is that they're cofactors used for many enzymes in our body that handle all kinds of reactions. So in the case of folic acid, it's associated with B12 and deficiencies associated with homocysteine. And the problem that I've had is that I've had doctors tell me that, for diabetes 2 patients, folate might not be the smartest thing. So when I researched it, what you find instead is that it's very inconsistent. You have evidence that it's harmful for diabetics, and you have evidence that it's helpful for diabetics. And so how do you even begin to resolve that? I don't know. In any event, I just want to close by reminding you need to go and get on Ned's case and tell him to veto that bill 8002. In the meantime, I will see you next week.